Hi everyone, we're back with another video today, and I'm with Tom again, but today we're in person. How you
Yeah.
doing, Tom?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. So I saw some message in Slack from customers, and they were asking for actually one of their end customers was having problems with their webhook integration. I think there specifically was about signatures,
Yep.
but I know there are also other common integration issues. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Why not? So, I mean, let's start with the signatures, actually. Like the signatures are the mechanism for webhooks to do authentication. So otherwise, it's just like a post request, random unauthenticated post request sent over the internet. And the common way, therefore, is to sign the webhooks, the payload itself, and a few other, and a bit of metadata with a secret key, and then have it be verified by the consumers. Um, so that's simple enough. The problem is cryptography is hard, or maybe not hard, but just like even the slightest change, like just like one white space can throw the whole thing off.
Because of the hashing, yeah.
Yeah, because of the hashing, exactly. I mean, by design, it's very
It
sensitive to
should.
even
It
this.
really
Yeah,
should too, right?
exactly.
Like that's
Like
it. It's like it's a feature.
it's a feature, exactly, and that feature is like very confusing because like like part of the feature as well is that if you change one bit, everything should like I forgot how it's called, but like everything should be different.
Yeah. So
Otherwise,
even with the smallest change, the whole thing changes. So
yeah,
you can't like kind of
yeah, you can like eyeball it and say, that
yeah.
looks close.
It's kind of close, and then we can just change
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
nothing like that. It's like by design, like everything changes. So, like it's very important then. It's paramount that people actually just get the raw payload exactly the way it was sent over the wire. So exactly that, byte array or like string and verify that because that's what was signed. And as we said, even the slightest change can, make the difference. And like one common failure case that we see, and like engineers are forever resourceful. So what they see, they get like they get a JSON because the framework that they use already passes it, and they're like, well, I know how to do it a JSON, how to make it into a string. I'm just going to stringify it, and kind of like call JSON stringify node or whatever else. And the problem with that is that you can't be 100% sure that it's going to stringify exactly the same way that it was stringified before being sent over the wire. So like,
Why is that?
there can be like a variety of reasons. One is just like a different implementation. B, there's no like there's no canonical JSON string representation. So for example, if you have a hash, you can sort the keys alphabetically. You cannot. It really differs.
Okay.
You can add a space between, after colons or not. Like it really, everything differs. There's no like one canonical way. And you could potentially have a canonical way, but I think that's, kind of like opens. So whenever you do like encryption and you give like people operations to do before that, I mean cryptography, sorry, in general, not encryption, and you give people operations to do before that, you're opening yourself to a lot of abuse, whether it's kind of like putting load on the system before it was verified by an attacker. Like there are like a lot of reasons why that's not a good idea. So really what you want to do is just like verify exactly what was sent. So that's like one failure case with signatures. But the other way is like one other thing is like people often forget to put the right secret key, right? I mean, like I wish I could say it happens. I guess it happens rarely, but like every now and then, like someone comes in and just like
Maybe more often than you want.
yeah, exactly. And after like debugging, you realize, well, you didn't put the secret in, so it's not actually verifying it with the right secret, right? I mean, the whole point of a secret is like having a shared secret.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like another failure case, which is like very silly, but more common than you expect. Especially with again going back to Node, where you do like process.env.something,
Yeah.
and it's just undefined and you have like no idea what's going on.
Yeah, because I think even different systems have different way of pulling environment variables.
Yeah.
So I think I ran into that actually with Node versus Dino when I was doing the super based stuff.
Yeah. And you can easily get the wrong thing, so that's something to keep in mind. What else? Another thing is, and this actually doesn't apply to Spix customers because we have the Spix libraries that automatically verify for you. But one common failure case is people not implementing the verification code correctly. So they, like they put something out of order, or they put, like, well, I don't remember where I saw this, but there was a case where if it was a round second, so like it was like, 5 seconds exactly, or like 10 o'clock, 5 minutes and 5 seconds. And like, it was like exactly that, then it would be fine. But the moment you would kind of like be like half a second. So, oh my God, this was like such a long way of saying it. What I'm trying to say, if it's like on a round second, exactly on the round second, some libraries or like some languages would serialize the number as a string without the point something, without the decimal. But if it was like half a second, like so not exactly on the second mark, then it would it would stringify with a decimal.
Okay,
And
so if it was exactly at 0.0 seconds,
yeah, then it would be like
get rid of
yeah, it
the
would just
point
like if it's
0.
1.0, it'd just be 1. But if it's 1.1, it would be 1.1. And that small difference in this specific language would make it so that in other languages, other languages do not have this like quirky behavior. And that was, I think it was probably JavaScript. It's always JavaScript in the end. Or maybe it was Python as well. But the point is that was causing issues, and I don't remember the exact thing, but that was causing like very intermittent issues with like verifications. And then the last one, like when you do signature verification, you also check the timestamp to make sure it's like within this like expected window. Like we talked about it in a previous video. And a skewed clock. So if the clock is out of sync, that can cause issues. Like you expect it to be a certain time and it's outside of this window. So always make sure that your servers have like NTP and they really like keep the clock in sync.
So that's just like whatever. Like, how does a clock get skewed? Or is it just like they used the wrong one from the beginning?
No, it just does like a clock drift. Like
that's true. Like any actual clock on the wall, it's just not
it
perfect.
just drifts. Yeah, and in some hardware worse than others. Like like cheap like system on chips, so like SoCs, often get like drift. But like other scenarios, it's actually something that happens in practice. So you need to make sure it's okay. I think actually maybe even like in some container environments on AWS or something, you also get, I don't remember at the moment, but like it's something to keep in mind.
There's all kind of weird stuff that can happen.
Yeah, computers are weird. Yeah. And then like another one, which is much more rare, but we see still. Actually, I mean, maybe two other ones, I guess. So like one is like IP whitelisting. So if oftentimes people have firewalls and they expect like calls to be made from a certain source.
Yeah.
And if you forget to like put the webhook sender's IP ranges, which we, for our customers, we publish it on our docs, that can cause issues because they don't actually get the webhook request.
So they just didn't.
They get nothing.
So they just didn't whitelist.
Yeah, exactly. And then they get like failures, and they kind of like they blame you or the sender, or they blame us, or they blame anyone. And then you kind of like dig deeper, and it looks opaque, right? It looks like just like a normal network failure in most cases. So you have like there are like a few failure modes that you can do like in a firewall. One is kind of like just to like black hole the requests, and then it looks like a timeout. Or if you like reject, then it's like connection reset, rejected or whatever, refused. Sorry.
I mean, like, is there a problem with telling someone like, oh, this is blocked by IP?
You can't know as the sender. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can again, like if you get connection refused, it's probably that. But like many people just like black hole.
Yeah.
And then it's probably that again. But like you don't have like a definitive way of knowing that. Wow, what was the other one I was gonna say? Well, I don't remember. I had like another one I want to say, but like let's skip to the other one that I want to say, talk about. Sorry. So I think like the other one is like I said a lot of the other ones. So
I don't know where you're going with this.
Yeah, no, I had like another idea with like the next to the IP whitelisting that I forgot. Oh yeah, I remember now.
Okay,
we're gonna do.
Sure, I'll do some editing magic, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
or maybe we'll just keep it in. I really like that sound effect you just made.
Yeah, well, we can keep it. I don't mind. So, I think like the other one as well is like people have oftentimes like API gateways or like some load balancers or something like that in front of their, like webhook receiving, which makes sense. But they maybe have like strict or weird configurations. So, for example, they use like old SSL implementations that don't support like your newer ciphers that you only have enabled, like any of those kind of like variations. And again, like it's very annoying to detect in many cases because some of them, for example, IIS, the Microsoft Internet Service, that one just drops. No, I think what does it do? I think it just like drops the connection. So just like, and you just see connection reset by peer, and good luck like figuring that one out. But really, just what it means is kind of like failed to negotiate a certificate. A cipher, SSL cipher. Yeah, that was the one I was talking about earlier. And then like the last one, another failure case is figuring out like how to handle webhooks on your end. So most webhook providers have like some sort of like a window where they consider it a success, but after that they would consider it a failure as a timeout. So for example, you can have like 5 seconds, and if the webhook endpoint doesn't respond within 5 seconds, it would consider it a failure. You have to
That's
put
very
the number,
common, yeah.
and you have to put the number
some-
somewhere.
Yeah.
It could be like 5 hours. I mean, don't do 5 hours, but it could be 5 hours.
Yeah.
But really, I think a good number is probably like 15 seconds. That's like a good,
Mhm.
sensible number. And sometimes people, kind of like abuse that fact and kind of like do a lot of stuff like within the webhook receiver, which is fine.
Okay.
But, sometimes you abuse it too much. It's like over 15 seconds. And for all they know, they processed the webhook successfully because they returned the 200, but actually they didn't, because it took them too long to return that 200.
And it even depends, because I've seen, like you said, 15 seconds, but like, I've looked at a decent amount of like webhook docs. I think in my head, my number was 5 seconds is the one that I've seen a lot. So like if you have something that takes 10 seconds, it's going to work for some and not for others.
Yeah. So I think like 5 seconds probably are very common. I think we do 15, just to give people the ability to kind of like cut corners, I guess, and like do this like ugly way. The better way is to have like a queue. So like, immediately you receive that, like verify, and then like add it to a queue. We actually have, like a few like helpful projects to help with, automatic like webhook handling. So yeah, sorry. And then the last thing is actually responding incorrectly, which is another thing that we saw. So when you receive a webhook, you need to notify the webhook sender that it was received successfully. And in order to do that, you probably need to return like a successful HTTP status code. So like 200 or maybe 201, more likely 204. So it can be like a lot of variation there, but as long as it's 200, that's kind of like your way of indicating that was a success. And we actually had like a customer, what they did, they returned the 200, but in the payload, they wrote error : this is the error. So like we read it as a success, but they thought they like signaled the failure. So it's really important to follow kind of like the HTTP spec and really make, like have decent error codes.
Like they did that on purpose?
I don't know if on purpose.
Or like did they just put the wrong error code by it?
I think they just like didn't realize they forgot to set the status code.
Yeah.
But that was a failure for them. That wasn't fun. But I'm sure it's something that's easy to get wrong if you just don't think about it, right? It's like, I'm just going to return a response that was like the failure of like. But yeah, because like when you interact with humans, even if you gave them like a successful response, but you wrote an error, they're gonna like figure that out. But the computers need a status code.
Status 200, it didn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, it didn't work.
Yeah, no, but you would see that. I don't remember when it was, but like I think back in the days, you'd have a lot of websites that would return a 200, but actually you're right, like in the error message on the screen, like 404 not found and stuff like that, because it's like in their head.
So they would return 200 and say 404.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah, because like humans didn't know any better, and the developers there didn't know any better either. So like they didn't check.
Interesting.
Yeah, but webhooks do care. And you can even take this one like one step further and think about it. The status codes actually have meanings even beyond the 200. So you can, like return a 503 to say that, it's temporarily unavailable and you want the webhook provider to try it at a later time. Like maybe you have like planned downtime at the moment. Or you can do like a 429 to say, like you're being rate limited. So please, stop for a second. So you can definitely be a bit more fancy. And as long as like the webhook provider supports all of those things, you can do very well. Yeah.
So we support like if you send a 5xx, essentially, or retry it, 4xx, we like stop.
No, so actually we retry on everything, because you never know. Again, like as I said, with like the bad status code.
Yeah.
But we do respond differently based on the failure. So like a 429 will mean that we penalize it on our end to make sure that we don't like overload you. 503, I think, as well. And then like a few like different behaviors depending on the status code.
All right. Well, yeah, I think those are most of the issues that we get in our Slack. Customers asking us, "Hey, like, I can't get it to work."
Yeah. I think actually, another thing about that is that a lot of frameworks or languages or libraries, I guess, like offer shortcuts for some stuff. So, like for example, Django has like a fetch or 404.
Okay.
And if you have like some sort of race condition on your end, you can, and we've seen it in the past. So like they would do like a fetch of 404 fail, so they would return a 404 to us, but actually they really want us to retry because that that like entity will be created in a second, and you want to retry and actually like hit that.
Okay. So they're taking this kind of like easy shortcut method that is given to you by the framework, but sometimes the response wouldn't be exactly what you would want. So we kind of just retry.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to just like forget. Even in our code base, in some areas, you have a kind of like a fetch of 404 for some things, and it can be, it's very easy to actually use it by accident in the webhook receiver.
Okay. Tom, again, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Good to have you.
Yes.
Do that exactly in person.
Yeah. So if anybody has any questions about issues they run into, leave them in the comments. Hopefully, we can get to them. You could also join our Slack and ask it there too if you want a faster response.
Yeah, that's a popular case.
All right. Well, thanks,
Cool.
Tom.
Thank you.